And if so, please raise your hand function to indicate you would like to ask a question. When you are called on for your question, please unmute your line and state your name and affiliation. Good morning.
Good morning.
Coach, if we could start and have you do an opening statement, please.
It's great to be here, obviously, not just because I'm a Cowboy fan, but I'm a big fan of these kids and watching them all year long and everything that they've gone through, their ability to stick together, their resiliency, and then their just ability to sacrifice has really gotten us to this point. And I'm very proud of their accomplishments and what they've done. So there's been many that have been individual, but the biggest ones are the team goals that we've accomplished, and I'm very, very proud of them. And I'm excited for this weekend because we feel like if we are the best version of ourselves, then we give ourselves a shot. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity.
At this time, we'll open up questions for the student athletes. Again, as a reminder, please make sure to raise your hand and allow the microphone holders to reach you. And if you are joining us virtually, please raise your hand as well so that I can acknowledge it through our Zoom.
Mark Berman, the Roanoke Times. For Taylor and Liz, I'm sure you grew up watching the Final Four on TV. Given that, what is it like to actually now have arrived here?
It's pretty surreal to be here, but I think Coach says it's one thing to be here and it's another thing to be in the tournament, and so it's a blessing. It's still a little bit of a fever dream and just trying to take it all in, but it's definitely really fun and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, it's really cool because I think, growing up or even like the last few years in college, like we would have our season and then it would come to an end too soon and then I would enjoy watching the rest of the games. But now, we're in those games and I couldn't be more happy about that. And I'm just so excited that I get to play with these guys for a little bit longer.
Michael Cobble, WBRZ TV in Baton Rouge. This is for Elizabeth. Just the matchup, obviously down low, is going to get a lot of attention. What do you see in LSU's posts and LaDeja and Angel and the challenge they present?
They're really athletic. They can rebound a lot. We just know that we're going to have to be, physical and strong down there and not let them get too many second chance opportunities because they'll definitely take advantage of that. But yeah, we just have to play to our strengths also.
Jermaine Farrell, WFXR in Roanoke. First of all, ladies, Coach, great seeing y'all down here in Big D. This is for the ladies up on the stage. I got to ask you, now obviously, locally we know how great you are and what y'all do, but what's it like finally to get this national attention and obviously Taylor showing off that great hat, that's got to be cool because you bring in the swag, but what's it like to get this national recognition and attention y'all definitely deserve?
Can we start with Georgia, please?
Yeah, it's really good for the program, what we've been striving for. Coach Brooks has done a really good job inheriting the program and building it up to this, and obviously this is probably one of the greatest things a team can achieve, right, being in the Final Four, aside from winning the whole thing. But yeah, it's really surreal, really great for the program, and it's good that Virginia Tech is getting some noise.
And Taylor?
Yeah, I'll just piggyback on that. I'm proud of the team, of Coach Brooks, the vision that he's had, and I think it all started obviously in the locker room and making sure we all believed in the goals and what we were going to accomplish, and honestly trying to block out the noise, whether you're with us or against us. It's not really going to change what we do, but at the same time, it does still feel good to be on the stage and have people recognize you for the hard work that we've been putting in all season.
And Elizabeth?
I agree. That's good.
No.
Greg Girdle at the Dallas Morning News. This is for Coach Brooks. Is this right that you were at the 2017 Final Four in Dallas when UConn had its 111-game winning streak ended?
I was, and it was a special Final Four for me because I have a middle daughter, and Chloe, and she was probably going through some tough challenges mentally. She had an injury with her basketball career, and it was a daddy-daughter date. And we came here, we spent time together with each other, took her around, Kind of got a chance to show her how cool Daddy was in the lobbies of the WBCA meetings. And we sat there, up there, and we watched the game, UConn and Mississippi State. And we had the best time. And I wish I could give you a story, a Disney story ending, and saying that, hey, baby, one day we're going to be here too. But we didn't. But it was a memorable moment, and to come full circle to know that 2023, I'm going to bring my team. Not like Taylor says, we're not at the Final Four, we're in the Final Four. And that's a surreal moment, and something that now I get to bring my whole family, not just one kid, you know. And that's something that not only we're experiencing, but all of our families are experiencing, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful moment.
Have you used that as any kind of example to your kids that anyone can win the tournament no matter what their record is?
Well, I've told these kids all along that they can win it. They have the talent to win it. They just weren't good enough to beat themselves and to try to beat these tough opponents. And they bought into that. They're selfless, the most unselfish group I've ever been around in my life. And as a matter of fact, all their individual trophies and accolades, they're in my office because they just haven't come to pick them up. So the only thing they want to do is win. And so if you walk into my office, you might think that I'm a decorated basketball player with all the trophies in there, but that's just their unselfishness, and that's what's gotten us here.
Before moving on, we're going to take a question virtually, and just want to remind you we're going to take questions to the student athletes, and then we'll do coach so that we can dismiss the student athletes first. So again, we're going to take a question virtually. This will be from Chris Heidel. Chris, I'm going to unmute your line, and you are able to then talk.
Hey, this is Chris Heidel from Hermiton Radio in Baltimore. Congratulations, ladies, making it to the Final Four. This is for the players. What is it like being representing the Commonwealth of Virginia and also representing the ACC as well?
If we could start with Elizabeth.
I'm not from Virginia originally, but the last 4 years that I've had there, I've just had a real connection with the community there, and Blacksburg especially. It's just a really special place, and Hokie Nation is incredible. So I'm just so happy to be able to represent that population, and it's cool to get somewhere where the program hasn't been before, and I'm just really glad that I'm doing it in a Hokies uniform.
And Taylor?
Yeah, no, it's been awesome. I've had people back on campus that work with like dining hall services texting, saying the whole campus is behind us, and it's a great feeling because I feel like we're just kind of having fun and doing our job, but to know that people are genuinely looking up to us is awesome. And the same thing with people in the ACC, other teams are saying bring it home for the conference, and so it's fun, it's awesome, and yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say a few of the ACC girls that we play against all year round have reached out to me, and I know a lot of the other girls too, so it's pretty cool to see, those girls getting behind you. It obviously goes to show how great connection the ACC has and how it's prepared us for this.
Alexa Philpott, ESPN, for the players. Each of you, I know, had different experiences deciding to go to Virginia Tech, but what was it about Coach's vision specifically that made you realize this is, something that I want to get on board with? Like, what was that? Like, you can sell a vision, but for us, not being in the room, what did that look like? And I know for you, for Georgia and Elizabeth being here, getting recruited out of high school versus Taylor coming in as a transfer, if you could each kind of answer what that looked like.
My story was definitely a little different because I was international and I never met Coach Brooks in person until I was in his office pretty much committing. So I think he obviously did a really good job recruiting, selling the vision online. And obviously I had a lot of other coaches recruiting me, and I just didn't really feel that connection or that vibe. And Coach Brooks was always just so genuine. Him and his staff, his whole coaching staff, had that vision. And I could just tell that it was a family. And for me to come all the way over here, I had to have that. So a huge part of that was just the family feeling and the vision that came along with it. Sitting in his office, I committed on spot, so he sold it pretty well.
I think for me, it wasn't even when we talked on a Zoom that he sold it to me. I think it was just over the 4 years of getting to talk to him just after competition when I was at Boston College. And you get a vibe, you get an energy from somebody in how you interact. And it was always genuine. There was always a lot of respect there. So then when it came down to him recruiting me to come to Virginia Tech, it was like, okay, I hear what you're saying. I see who you have on the team. And I've liked you as a competitor so far. And so it was a pretty easy decision for me.
I I committed like 5 years ago now, which is crazy, but that was after Coach Brooks had a couple seasons, and I could already see the improvement that he'd made. And I just knew that he had a vision, not just for the success of the basketball program, but also the culture. And I felt like I could help out with that. So, yeah, it worked out pretty well.
David Cunningham, Tech Sideline. Taylor, this is for you. You mentioned blocking out the noise and making sure everybody in the locker room believes about the vision. Through the ups and downs this year, what do you think has been the key to you guys as a whole? Just staying focused and locked in, and even when people are saying whatever about you, being able to block out that noise. Is it the experience? Is it the fact that everybody's connected? What do you think it is in your mind?
I think it's a mix of a whole lot of things. I think it starts with having great people on the team, and I credit Coach Brooks for recruiting not just great basketball players, but great people who I can confide in and look at them. And I think we all have the same goal and this insane desire to win and just have each other's backs. And I think Liz has touched on it a whole bunch. We're just having fun with each other. And so why let outside noise that isn't going to change the outcome of a win or a loss distract you from those goals? And so it's been great being locked in, being motivated with this team. And I think it does go to show how mature this group is. And so it's great.
Chris Rim, the New York Times. For Georgia and Liz, I know you talked some about this, but how did your friendship blossom, ahead of the season, and how has it translated to the on-the-court play for y'all and, chemistry?
Yeah, I think when I first got here, I had no friends and no one really. But I think that I always said that Liz's relationship with Raven, she's so caring, and she's learned to be passionate and emphatic and all of the above towards people in their situations. So she just really reached out to me and helped me get comfortable with Virginia Tech and America. I was not comfortable with America. And then, COVID hit and I lived with her. And even though it was only 2 months, I can't even remember how long it was. 4? Okay. Well, that's what I'm saying. It didn't even feel like that because it was just I just got accepted into a home that was so comforting and welcoming. So I would say COVID definitely helped with that.
It was kind of by force because she just, got immersed in all my family issues and whatever. She was just surrounded by it, so she had to learn me really well. And then in turn, I think, she felt more comfortable confiding in me. So I think that just helped us get really close. And then translating onto basketball, we just have that special relationship, and we spend so much time together. And Coach Brooks also helps us learn each other on the basketball floor, so that just translates into games.
Yeah, Mitchell Northam for the win. Georgia, I saw on Twitter that your parents are going to come to this game. Have they ever gotten the chance to see you play live in person in a Virginia Tech uniform? When was the last time, and how awesome is it to have them here?
Yeah, so they both, my whole family, so my brother, sister, mum and dad came over last year. So they saw about 4 or 5 games, and then this year my mum came over, just herself. I wasn't expecting them to come to the tournament, but they landed yesterday. And mum was like, did you have any idea that we would come? I was like, no. To be honest, no, because it's a 16-hour flight direct. But they got here, and I'm very happy that they get to experience this, because this is a whole different level than, our home games are great, but oh my gosh, this stage is incredible. So I'm very happy that they get to experience it too.
Cheryl Coward, hoopfeed.com. Along those lines, you got to play in the arena where Australia's greatest basketball player played in her career. What was that like, and what kind of motivation did that give you? And have you heard from any of the Australian stars and legends in your run up here?
Yeah, when I first walked in, I saw her jersey hanging. That was a pretty surreal moment. But, we won the game against Ohio State, and she DM'd me, which was pretty cool. She reached out to me. And, Sammy Whitcomb also plays for them, and she reached out to me. So it's pretty cool to, have that support back from home, specifically, too, from the Seattle girls, obviously just from where we played those games. But it's been very, very cool.
David Teal from the Richmond Times-Dispatch, Georgia. Coach Brooks mentioned the other day that in the bubble in San Antonio 2 years ago after the Baylor game, Coach Mulkey said to him, behind your mask, you should be smiling because I see potential in your team. That result notwithstanding, Did that game teach you all anything? What were your emotions after that game, and did you think it was an encouraging moment, the result aside?
Yeah, obviously learned a lot from that game. I remember walking up to the presser and Didi Richards walked past me and she fist bumped me and said, "Good job, baby girl." I was shaking, fist bumping her. I was like, oh my gosh, this is not real. But, you know, just to see like that Baylor team was incredible. And to play against them, you know, it taught us a lot. They were a mature group. They were a confident group. And I think, you know, it's translated now because I think we're mature and confident. And we're playing on this stage that they did. So, you know, it's been a journey, but I'm very happy to be a part of it.
We're going to take our final 2 questions for the student athletes.
Georgia, again, this is for Georgia. Just, you talked about the Australian. LSU has last year Poe on her team. Are you familiar with each other? Did you play against each other? Any stories you could share?
Yeah, so we're both from Victoria. She's from the metro, so the city. I'm from the country. So we played against each other all juniors. We even went over to India together as part of the national team. So I'm very familiar with LT. Great family. Her mom is so cute. And I'm so proud of her because, you know, she went to JUCO, she came up, landed at LSU, and I'm so proud of her because she's stuck through it, and it's paying off for her.
For any of you, I think, Liz, before the Ohio State game, you had said, hey, this game's going to boil down to whether we handle the Ohio State press or not. What do you feel like tomorrow's game is going to boil down to?
Taylor, let's have you answer that.
It's definitely going to be rebounding and just being the tougher team, making sure that we're not playing back on our heels, just running our offense. And I think I said it the other day, there's nothing that we have to do that's going to be different than what we've done to get us here. It's just going to be playing confident, playing together, playing smart, limiting second chance opportunities, and the rest will work itself out.
Georgia, is this right that you grew up playing Australian rules football, cricket, and taekwondo against boys?
Yeah, and swimming and track and netball, yeah, everything.
Did you feel like that helped you kind of develop a toughness that you've been able to bring into your college basketball career?
Yeah, when I used to play football, I used to be really fast, and boys would grab my ponytail to stop me. So I've definitely learned a lot from that. But in terms of toughness, you know, football is purely about tackling and dodging all of those instances. So definitely helped me be tough. Definitely taught me that when I get hit, to get up, test it out, and then go out if you're really hurt.
Thank you, ladies. At this time, we'll take questions from Coach.
Thank you.
Kenny, Andy Bitter from Tech Sideline. Obviously, basketball is the family business for you. I'm curious, going back to when you took the Virginia Tech job, what were those discussions like with your family about leaving a pretty good situation at JMU? Were they on board, and did you imagine this was possible back then?
Well, congratulations. Welcome back. My family is everything to me. I played for Lefty Driesell, and you know, Lefty not only taught us basketball, but he taught us family. And everywhere we went, his family was there. Ms. Driesell, even if I was mad at Coach Driesell, Ms. Driesell would come up and give me a big hug and tell me that she loved me. And that's something that has meant a lot to me. When I was at James Madison, I felt like I was so busy making a life that I wasn't living a life. And it was a blur. You know, I watched my kids grow up, and I missed a lot. I missed a whole lot. So when the Virginia Tech opportunity came along, my wife was on board because she understood that the challenges that I wanted to accomplish, I wanted to test my wits against the best, and she knew that. But my children had never moved. Unprecedented, they had never moved before in their lives. They lived in Harrisonburg, Virginia. Their grandparents lived there. Their cousins lived there. Their aunts, they had a normal life. They didn't have a coach's kid life. And in turn, I taught them how to hate Virginia and Virginia Tech, because we were James Madison, and we were always battling against them. So my oldest child, she was on board. My baby girl, she didn't know what was going on. She was just going where daddy and mommy went. And my middle child was reluctant. She says, I'm not going. She says, I'm staying here. And ultimately, one day I was sitting, as I was contemplating, I was sitting on my bed, actually, and my middle child, Chloe, the one who came to the tournament with me in 2017, she laid on the bed with me, and she said, I don't want to be the reason that you don't go out and get what you deserve. So she says, I'll go. And when she said that, I just lost it. And right then and there, I knew that they were going to be incorporated in everything that we did at Virginia Tech. And as a result, It's helped us, family atmosphere. They're around. The kids know them. Georgia and Liz come to my house all the time, whether I'm there or not, to see my wife or to cook, to bake, or do whatever. So it's just really helped our culture, incorporating my family into everything. And it's helped me become a better father. I've had more dinners at the dinner table with my kids since I've been at Virginia Tech than I ever imagined having at James Madison.
Chris from the New York Times. Georgia kind of has like a commanding presence on the court. Like, how have you worked with her in developing that and honing that?
You know what? She came here, and immediately I knew we had something special. I told everyone. I told everyone we stole one, and not just because of her basketball ability, but because of her work ethic, her demeanor, and you know, she came over here in a very tough time. You know, COVID hit 2 months into her being here, and then the very next year, the season was cut short, and she had 5 non-conference games before we threw her into the ACC battles. And she and I knew she was going to be special, and I challenged her and I coached her like that. And if you had watched my practices with her, you might have thought it was child abuse, because I was really going after her because I knew the toughness that she needed. And she handled every bit of it, She has a very demanding, not demanding, her demeanor is a very one of confidence. The kids will follow her. She's like the Pied Piper. You know, if she says, let's do this, the kids will do that. She's the funniest kid on the team. She's the most quick-witted kid on the team. And she's our leader. And you know, just, you know, she and Liz, watching them two at practice, they'll go at each other. And it's funny. They speak a different language. But at the end, they respect each other so much. And that's a big reason we're here, because of Georgia's toughness, mentally and physically.
Coach, to your left.
Skylar Dixon with the AP. A first-time Final Four participant and yet a #1 seed. How do you kind of use those two opposing things in your messaging?
Well, the number one seed means that we belong here. We're not a number 6 seed who's made a magical run, and it's very surprising. We should expect to be here. A lot of people should expect us to be here, but because of the name on the front, because it hasn't had the history that a Tennessee had or UConn had, you know, people are really quick to doubt you. And our kids have seen that. Like they mentioned, they are basketball junkies. They know everything that Charlie Cream says. They know everything. They know where they are bracketology every second. They know everything. Before I can text them because somebody made a really good move, they're texting me, did you see that move that such and such made? They're basketball junkies. So when they see everything that's written about them and people writing them off, I love the way they've handled it. They're not angry. They're not angry like we're going to prove you wrong. All right, they're so confident in themselves. They're like, okay, we're going to prove ourselves right. We know how good we are. We know we belong here. We know we are a #1 seed. We didn't just happen to get lucky to get a #1 seed. We beat a lot of really good basketball teams convincingly, and we expect to have that. So as a result, being here is not a surprise. We're very fortunate. We understand it, that it takes a lot of hard work and some luck, but we expect to be here.
And Coach, to your right.
Jermaine Farrell, WFXR in Roanoke. Coach, Dallas Cowboy fan, you're here in Dallas. Have you had any of the Cowboys reach out to you, anyone from the organization, to come out to AT&T Stadium or come out to the Star? Because you're here now. We talked about it earlier. Said it'd be a dream to be here, and now you're here. So has Jerry reached out to you, anybody?
No, I haven't. But I tell you what, I got a direct text from a tweet, and from Magic Johnson. And that put me on cloud 9. I was a fanboy when I got that. So I've already got my staff, going to print it out, put it on a big cutout, and put it in my man cave for anybody to come and see. But then a really cool moment. I've watched the video 100 times. I'm a big Dodgers fan. My grandfather, people ask me, why are you a Dodgers fan? My grandfather grew up watching Jackie Robinson and everything that he accomplished, breaking down barriers. And I just became a Dodgers fan because my grandfather was a Dodgers fan, and then he talked to me about the history. So I'm a big Dodgers fan. And Dave Roberts reached out, and he sent me a video message. And he said, when I got it, I saw his face, and I'm like, what is this? And it says, he started off, he said, Coach Brooks. And I'm like, he said my name. And it was personalized, and he talked about the culture. He's watching our games and the culture that is emulated through. Just resonates through the TV. And at the end of it, he says, first he said, I hope to see you at a game. So I took that as an invitation, so I'm going to take him up on it. But he said, go Dodgers and go Hokies. And that's two of my favorite teams, and that's all I needed right there. So it was a special moment for me and for him to reach out, because he's somebody that, I try to emulate, his persona and the way that he goes about his business.
Back here to your left.
Hey, Kenny, Anthony Romano, WDBJ, congratulations on getting to this point. Does LSU remind you of any of the opponents that you faced during the season or during this run? And how do you feel as if your ACC schedule and the talent that was in the conference this year has prepared you for this stage?
Yes, LSU, extremely well coached. They're physical, they're fast, they're tough, they're confident. And it reminds me a lot of the team we played 2 games ago in Tennessee. We played Tennessee twice this year, and very similar styles in what they do. They're very reliant on their athleticism, their length, their ability to rebound the basketball. So I think that game has prepared us. Both of those games have prepared us. We played 2 games earlier in the Bahamas. We played against Kentucky and Missouri, and maybe they're not as talented as those groups, but they play a very similar style, very physical. And then when we went through the ACC, we have a lot of good teams in the ACC, and to go through our conference and get the championship, we had to go through Miami, who was in the Elite Eight. They play a very similar style. It was on display when they played against LSU. We had to play against Duke, who plays a very similar style, very physical, reliant on the pressure. And then we had to play Louisville, who was also in the Elite Eight, to get to the championship. So I think our schedule has really prepared us for moments like this because of the way that teams have played. And I think our kids have seen it all. Elizabeth, we don't know what kind of coverage they're going to get, but we've seen it all, and we'll adapt to whatever they're going to do, whether it's single coverage, whether it's double, whether it's triple. And so we'll be ready.
Coach, right over here to your left.
Okay.
Hi, Kenny. Scott Rapollet with The Advocate in Baton Rouge. Obviously, both teams have benefited from the transfer portal, but in this era of the transfer portal, NIL, to do what Coach Mulkey has done so quickly at LSU, to join that handful of coaches who've led multiple programs to the Final Four, what does that say about the job you think she's done from a coaching perspective, knowing how even more difficult it is to build a program in this era?
She's capitalized on the opportunity with the transfer portal, but she's done it the right way. A lot of people want to go into the transfer portal and they just want to have a collection of talent. This kid averaged 14 points at such and such. Maybe they should be able to do that here. Well, that's not always the case. And she's done what we've done, and we've gone out and got kids who are a good fit for your program, not just because their stats are really good. And she's done that. And, she has some personalities on that group, and she's the person to really handle it, that situation. And she's taken them, and, they've sacrificed a lot, for the betterment of their team. And it shows because the way they played and the way they've been here. I think they've lost 1-2 games this year. And that's special. I don't care who you play. They play in the SEC, and they've only lost 2 games all year long. So she's done a magnificent job.
We have another virtual question from Chris. We'll take that at this time. Chris, if you could unmute your line.
Hey, Coach Brooks. It's Chris Seidel from Hermiston Radio in Baltimore. Thanks for taking my question, and congratulations on making it in Dallas. Have you heard from anybody from Harrisonburg, Virginia? Has anybody reached out to you and say, hey, congratulations, or anybody from the old area?
Oh, sure, absolutely. I probably have about 300 unread messages right now. And if you are listening from Harrisonburg or whoever has reached out, I promise you I'm not trying to be big time. I just don't have time to get to it. And I'll have time, next week to try to answer all of them. But I did hear from Coach Giselle. I got a message from him, which is very, very special. But I know there's a lot of supporters in Harrisonburg in particular. I think I've done a really good job of kind of converting a lot of people in the Shenandoah Valley into Virginia Tech fans. So that's a big feat in itself.
Hey, Coach, Doug Feinberg, the AP. I was talking to one of your friends the other day who's been in the spot you're in right now, and said that his advice to you was to take a second and enjoy the moment and not just focus on basketball, because that's obviously the thing to do, but to take a second and soak it all in. Have you had a chance to do that yet, or is it just, I got a game tomorrow, I'm focused on that?
Absolutely. I've heard from a lot of different people who've been in this situation. Quentin Hillsman, who you're probably referencing, who was here in my situation a few years back. As a matter of fact, Syracuse went to the Final Four, the final game, the year that I was hired at Virginia Tech. And when I took the job, and you're always trying to win the press conference, and I remember saying, well, if Syracuse can do it, why can't we? And there was a huge eruption. Everybody was like, yeah, we can do it. And then immediately I was like, did I just stick my foot in my mouth? Because it's a very tough task to get here. But I've heard from Quentin, I've heard from Jeff Walls, I've heard from Mike Neighbors, I've heard from Kelly Graves, and they all said the same thing. Enjoy the process, enjoy it. Enjoy it because it's not easy to get here. And they said you have a mature group, they're well coached, you know what you're going to do, and I know you guys are going to get down to business, but make sure you allow the kids and yourself to enjoy the process, and we've been doing that.
We'll take our final question.
Berman, the Roanoke Times. Kenny, do you feel like Angel Reese is perhaps the best player you've gone up against this season, and what are the kind of the keys to dealing with her tomorrow?
Well, I mean, obviously she's tremendously talented. She has great stats, but I don't want to discredit anybody that we've already played against because we have not played against her live. We played against some great kids. I mean, look at the two that we played against in Tennessee. They're as talented as anyone in the country. We've been able to play against them. Mike Soule, the other night, I looked like she was Steph Curry. I was just like smiling sometimes when she was hitting some of the shots that she was hitting. But obviously, when you get to this level, you're going to play against very, very tough, talented players. And we know we're going to have our hands full, but the kids will go out and they'll execute the game plan. And we're not going to shut her down. We don't expect to do that, but we just want to make it tough for her and put her in situations and where she's not comfortable.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
As a reminder, a recording of this press conference will be posted in the NCAA Digital Hub at www.ncaa.veritone.com.